Hey, welcome back. I want to talk today, just give you a few different examples of how information comes through from telepathically from animals. So we kind of talked about you can see, it's like a movie playing in your head. So when you ask them a question, you are seeing a scene. You may hear words, right? You may just have a general knowing. You may smell things and you may feel things. So I'm going to give you some examples of how that may play out through real life cases. I have thousands of them, but I'm going to try and pick some interesting ones for you. So let's say I am working with an animal, and we'll do a case that I had, and it was a horse that was stolen, and I connected with the horse, and asked them to kind of show me where they were, and the horse kind of showed me that she was located. There was like not a physical fence, like maybe a wire fence. She showed me all this rundown machinery. There were cornfields all around, and there was like a shed with a little ramp up. And when I explained, this to the woman who called about her stolen horse, she said, "Oh yeah," she goes, "I know exactly where that is. That was a person who had took my horse out on loan, and and anyways, she's like, but it's like 2 hours away." So she did drive there, trusting the process, and did find the horse there. So, and recovered the horse. So, anyways, that's how things can come through. So, different pictures. It's a great way to work with lost animals is to kind of see what is around them. But we'll get into that later on. You can feel things. I worked with a woman called me about her stallion who was at the trainers, and the horse had injured quite a few people, and it was classified as violent and dangerous, and they were thinking about putting him down. And she contacted me to find out what was going on with this horse. And when I pulled up his energy, he was a stallion, and he was very kind. Like, he had a kind energy. But immediately I felt almost like this wall of blackness coming up over my eyes and this intense pain in my head. And the horse would show me when this happened, he would become frightened and like panicked and lash out. And this is how some people ended up getting hurt. But he also showed me how maybe this had come about because he had showed me kind of being some physical abuse that was happening with one of the trainers. So all of this, and he showed me some cuts on his legs. And anyways, I told the woman that, this horse is having physical pain, and this is the cause of the aggression. And my advice was, get the horse out of the trainers and, rehab back home, and maybe see about getting a chiropractor, something to help with that head, because there was something going on like similar to a migraine. And she did. She got the horse back to her farm and had some work done with the horse. Chiropractic, definitely the head was out of alignment, a lot of other things as well. Anyway, months later, I hadn't heard from her in a while, and months later, she sent me an email and a picture, and it was the horse, and her daughter was actually in there with this horse who was classified, as dangerous. And she said, he's back to his sweet self, and went on to sire, some babies. So that's just another way, kind of an example of how some information can come through. And other ways, I had this just simple one, asking a horse what their favorite treat was, and I could smell peppermint, I could taste peppermint, things like that. hearing words. I was in my barn just cleaning out, sweeping and doing stalls. When you're doing a mundane task like sweeping or vacuuming or even in the shower, information comes through really well because your mind is kind of in that lull mode. So just think about that. If you're stuck, do some mundane tasks and then ask a question. It might come through better. If I'm having issues with my own animals, I'll go sometimes sit in the shower and ask the question, just because it's just, well, water is very conducive to information coming through, but it's just those mundane tasks where your mind is just in a lull and information, intuitive information, come through really clear. So just think about that, even if you just want to ask intuitive questions about your own life. It's just a great way to do that. So I'm sorry, I digress. So I was sweeping, cleaning my barn, and one of my horses walked in, and I could just feel him staring at me, and in the back of my head. And then I heard, "Are you going to remove that sign? When do you think you're going to remove that sign?" And I looked at him and I was like, and he was staring right across the aisle, and I had this big sign that my husband had gifted me when we had our barn first built 30 something years ago. This was in a different location, and it said Finnegan's Home, and the horse who said this was Max. So it's not that he could read the sign. So it was just that he knew the importance of that sign, and I guess Finnegan let him know the importance of that sign because he was the Lord Finnegan and it was all his. So Max didn't like that. So I told Max, I said, I can't take down the sign. I said, well, how about I get you a sign? And so he was very happy with that. And I just moved the sign so he didn't see it as he was looking at his stall. So anyways, he was very happy with that, and then he walked away. So you just may hear things as well. So just some fun stories that will help you understand how information comes through. So I hope that helps.